Welcome back, everybody, to another deep dive. We're going to be exploring some personal notes and a PDF titled Pain Made Me Pray, but Prayer Made Me Powerful.
Oh, wow.
It's like we're getting a sneak peek into someone's personal journey through some
Mm.
pretty big, universal experiences.
Yeah, for sure.
Are you ready to dive in?
Absolutely. I think there's something so incredibly vulnerable about these kinds of raw, unfiltered reflections.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the first note is just a simple instruction. It just says, avoid saying mola-bogging, rather say her notes,
Hmm.
which I think kind of sets the tone perfectly for this whole thing.
It's a fascinating choice, don't you think?
Yeah.
Wanting to be known by the ideas and experiences captured in the notes rather than a name.
It's like saying, these thoughts, these struggles, this is the real me.
Right.
And speaking of struggles, that PDF title, it's hard. Pain made me pray, but prayer made me powerful.
Wow.
The opening line is even more intense. It says, pain has a way of bending you to your knees. Have you ever felt that kind of force in your life, listener?
I think we all have in different ways. That image of being brought to one's knees really captures the way pain can strip away our defenses and force us to confront our vulnerability.
It's interesting, though, how the author frames this experience.
Yeah.
They go on to describe prayer as a response to that pain, but not just as a desperate plea for relief.
Right. The PDF actually describes a kind of evolution.
Okay.
It starts with that initial cry for help, but then transforms into something more like a source of strength and clarity, almost like prayer itself becomes a form of resilience.
And this line really struck me. Pain wasn't my enemy. It was my teacher. Makes you rethink how we usually view pain, doesn't it?
Absolutely. What if instead of trying to avoid pain at all costs, we tried to see it as an opportunity for growth and self-discovery?
Yeah.
This PDF challenges us to reframe our relationship with pain entirely.
Okay, here's where it gets really interesting.
Oh.
The author writes, pain made me pray, but prayer made me powerful. That's a bold statement.
It is.
What do you make of that connection between prayer and power?
It definitely challenges the traditional definition of power, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It's not about dominance or control, but more about inner strength, resilience,
Yeah.
the ability to find meaning even in the face of suffering.
And that brings us back to Mullaboging's notes. I'm starting to see a connection here. Remember that first note, wanting to be known by the content of the thoughts.
Right.
Maybe that's a reflection of this same kind of inner strength, the desire to define oneself on one's own terms, even in the midst of pain.
That's a great observation. It seems like both Mullaboging's notes and the PDF are exploring this theme of finding strength and self-worth when things are tough.
Yeah.
They remind us that our struggles don't define us, it's how we respond to them that matters.
And there's another note that caught my eye. When love is paused, you can almost feel the weight of that phrase.
Yeah.
Like someone grappling with a deep longing or maybe even heartbreak. What do you think is going on here?
It speaks to the human desire to hold on to love, to control it, even when it's not meant to be. I think it's a reminder that love, like life, has its natural rhythms. There are seasons of intensity and there are seasons of quiet reflection.
It's interesting because the PDF talks about finding strength through prayer.
Right.
And this note feels like it's exploring a different kind of strength. The strength to let go, to accept what is, even when it hurts.
I see what you mean. Perhaps the wisdom in these pauses, in these moments of love on hold, is that they offer an opportunity for personal growth and healing. Maybe they prepare us for a love that's more aligned with who we're becoming.
So it's not necessarily about giving up on love, but about understanding its natural ebb and flow.
Right.
That's a powerful insight.
It is. And it leads us to another fascinating note.
The one that simply says, in my self-love era.
Yes. There's something bold and almost defiant about that statement, don't you think?
It's like a declaration of independence.
Yeah.
A commitment to putting oneself first unapologetically.
Absolutely.
It definitely feels connected to the themes of strength and resilience we've been talking about.
It does. And if we connect this to the PDF where prayer was the source of power, could this self-love era be about finding power in a different way? Maybe through self-acceptance and self-care?
That's a great point.
Yeah.
But before we go any further, I want to know what you think, listener. What's resonating with you so far?
What stands out to you about these notes in the PDF?
And how do you think the ideas of pain, prayer, and self-love are starting to connect? We'll delve deeper into these questions in part 2 of our deep dive.
So picking up where we left off, I'm struck by how this self-love era connects to the power we were discussing earlier.
It's like self-love becomes its own source of strength, right?
Yeah,
Not in a selfish way,
right.
but in a way that empowers you to face challenges head on.
Exactly. And there's another note that speaks to this. It says, saying no without guilt is self-care. It's about setting those boundaries,
Oh, yeah?
protecting your energy.
It's funny, we often think of self-love as, bubble baths and face masks. But this note suggests something much deeper. It's about making choices that truly honor your needs, even when they're difficult.
And it's about recognizing that those needs are valid
Yeah.
without needing anyone else's approval. That's a powerful shift, especially when we've been conditioned to prioritize others' needs above our own.
I think that's why this phrase self-love era is so impactful.
Yeah.
It's not just a passing trend. It's a declaration of a new way of being. Like, this is my time, this is my journey, and I'm choosing to prioritize my own well-being.
And there's a real sense of ownership in that statement.
Yeah.
It's not about waiting for permission to love yourself. It's about claiming that right for yourself.
It makes me think about the PDF and how the author found strength through prayer. Maybe this self-love era is about finding strength in a different way, through self-acceptance, self-compassion, and really owning your worth.
It's interesting because the PDF also talks about a transformation, a shift from pain to power. Could this self-love era be a similar kind of transformation, a journey from self-doubt to self-acceptance?
That's a really intriguing parallel. And it brings us back to that idea of resilience. When you truly love and respect yourself, you build a foundation of strength that can help you face anything.
It's like self-love becomes this inner reservoir of strength that you can draw on when things get tough. It's knowing that you're worthy of love and support, both from yourself and from others.
It reminds me of something the author of the PDF wrote. Prayer wasn't about escaping the storm, but about finding the anchor within it. Maybe self-love is that anchor.
I love that analogy. It speaks to the idea that self-love isn't about creating a perfect life without challenges,
Yeah.
but about developing the inner strength to navigate those challenges with grace and resilience. What do you think, listener? Do you see any parallels between the journey described in the PDF and this concept of a self-love era?
Do you feel like self-love can be a source of strength and resilience in your own life? We'll continue exploring these ideas in part 3, where we take a closer look at how these concepts can be put into practice. We've been talking about pain and prayer and self-love. And I think this next note really brings all these themes together.
Okay.
It says, this is the season where I choose me, fully, unapologetically, and without hesitation. What do you make of that?
That statement feels like a culmination of everything we've been discussing.
Yeah.
It's about recognizing that self-love is an active choice,
Okay.
not just a feeling.
The use of the word season is interesting, isn't it?
Yeah.
It suggests that prioritizing yourself isn't selfish. It's just a natural part of life's, ebb and flow.
Absolutely. There are times when we need to focus outward
Right.
on our responsibilities and relationships.
Yeah.
But there are also times when we need to turn inward and nurture our own well-being.
And this note makes it clear that this is the season for self-love.
Yeah.
There's a real sense of urgency and determination in those words, fully unapologetically and without hesitation.
It's like drawing a line in the sand and saying, enough is enough. It's time to put myself first. It's a powerful rejection of the societal conditioning. That often tells us to put everyone else's needs before our own.
This note reminds me of a quote from the PDF. Prayer wasn't about begging for a different life, but about finding the strength to embrace the one I had.
Right.
It seems like Mullaboging is doing something similar here, but instead of finding strength through prayer, she's finding it through self-love.
I see that connection too. Both are about finding a source of inner power that allows you to face life's challenges with courage and grace.
Yeah.
It's about realizing that you have a choice in how you respond to difficult situations.
And maybe that's the ultimate lesson here.
Right.
Whether it's through prayer, self-love, or some other practice, we all have the ability to tap into a wellspring of strength within ourselves.
It's about recognizing that we're not victims of our circumstances.
Yes.
We have the power to choose how we show up in the world, even when things are tough.
And that's a really empowering message, isn't it? It means that even when life throws us curveballs, we have the inner resources to navigate those challenges and emerge even stronger on the other side.
Absolutely. And I think that's what makes Mullaboging's notes so inspiring. They offer a glimpse into someone's personal journey of self-discovery and transformation, reminding us that we all have the potential to do the same.
So listener, as we wrap up this deep dive, we want to leave you with a final thought.